Council meeting back to order. Natalie, can you read us out of closed session, please?
Certainly. I move that this council certify by a recorded vote that to the best of each council member's knowledge, only public business matters lawfully exempted from the open meeting requirements of the Virginia Freedom of Information Act and identified in the motion convening the closed session were heard, discussed, or considered in the closed session.
I'll
Okay.
second.
Second, are we voting electronically?
Not everyone signed in yet, so.
Okay. All in favor, please say yes.
Yes.
All opposed, please say no. The motion passes 5-0. We will take a moment of silence. Before we do that, we made some appointments in closed session, and Councilor Oshrin will read those.
To the Charlottesville Affordable Housing Fund, at large Sarah Malpass, and Affordable Housing Beneficiary Jamal Hamilton. For Charlottesville Albemarle Convention and Visitors Bureau Board, Food and Beverage Rep Brad Ohl, and Accommodations Zarina Yefezova. Community Development Block Grant and Home Task Force, Silethia Carr to the Rose Hill seat and Jamala Hamilton to the Fifeville seat. Historic Resources Committee to Jennifer Trumpeter. Human Rights Commission, Hannah Langlet and Callum McCain Von Schill. Local Board of Building Code Appeals, Robert Pinio. Personnel Appeals Board, Rafaela Daudzai and Adam Hastings. And Sister Cities Commission, rescinding appointment as the business rep and reappointing as the Huehue Tenango rep, Kristen Petros to go.
Is everyone signed in? If not, I'll take a voice vote. Oh, can I get a... No, we don't-
Second that.
Motion to appoint them?
Yeah. So moved. Second.
Second, all in favor, please say yes.
Yes.
All opposed, please say no. That motion passes 5-0. I want to thank those individuals for agreeing to serve the city in the various committees, and we will have a moment of silence, please. Thank you. We have a couple of announcements. First is that there is new technology for the downtown garages, and they have signs and things that you with these changes. But the main change is that Sam, do you want to say what the main changes are, or?
Actually, I have asked Chris Engel to come on the 5th of January
okay.
to go into greater details, but
Okay.
there is signage in the garages for people to access the QR code for being able to set up your ability to make those payments, and I think we're working on the kiosk now, making sure that it comes live as well.
Yes, I know we have a lot of questions on that, but the website has a lot of information. We'll get more in about two weeks or so, a little
Well,
bit.
probably, I will make sure that we have multiple news flashes go out so that that information is readily available.
The system goes active tomorrow, so people who do come to the parking garages will need to sign up once they do enter. They will not be able to exit without signing up.
Yeah.
And for, just for the public's awareness, this is a company that uses AI in order to automatically guess what your license plate and car model are, and they are under several class action lawsuits, including several from state attorney generals for systematically sending inaccurate bills as well as improperly handling private information of customers.
But on a happy note, you won't have to have your little badge to swipe.
Right, so much better than a parking lot attendant.
Yeah. Before we move on, I just wanted to take this opportunity to thank my colleague, Brian Pinkston. This is his last meeting. I know we still live on the same block. We're still going to be friends and engaged, but I'm going to miss your input on council, my dear friend. We appreciate your 4 years on council, your input with the Beaufort, Charlottesville Middle School, and the various committees and things that you're on has just been so valuable, and we're going to miss you. We have a couple of things here for you. We have something here for you and the missus to go enjoy yourself at Cardinal Hall. I know you like that, and this is a plaque, so you can put it with your name tag that we had up here. It's just thank you, recognition for your commitment for making Charlottesville a place where all people can thrive, and with great appreciation for your 4 years. Just want to thank you, sir. Appreciate your service, man.
Is this a time for you to?
Yes, yes.
Please indulge me.
Yeah.
I had a couple of gifts that I wanted to make, if that's okay.
Yes.
This is for James.
It's a-
It's a rubber mallet, it's not a hammer, but sometimes things need a little bit of a budge. So that's for you. I got this for Sam. Sam, this is a compass. People say that we need a plan. We have a really good plan and a strategic plan. And not that you need that because you've already got a really strong North Star, but you can remember that.
I will, thank you.
I got this from my very good friend, Lloyd Snook. This is a remote to help you turn off your audio. Because I know that's a struggle every week.
One more thing I have to figure out.
And
Thank you, I think.
there's a backup one.
Oh, because I didn't hear it. Okay.
I did have a few notes here.
Yes,
I wanted
yes.
to say. So, Sam, to steer the city through the maze, that is a strategic plan. It's all about the people. Ultimately, you get that. Lloyd, I just want to say that you've changed my view of lawyers. What people may not know about you is the level of care and compassion that you have. You're a deeply compassionate person who cares for everyone in the city. And you've been a real friend and mentor to me. Thank you for that. Thank you. Yeah. I've got something for you. Juan, I know you've got a stash of these in your hand.
Yeah, let's go to put
This is-
some Tootsie Rolls.
So I just wanted to say, Juan, I've never known a person who lives out the second commandment to love your neighbor as yourself the way that you do. And thank you for your friendship. It's meant the world to me.
Thank you, brother.
I got this for Natalie. It shouldn't be a surprise.
I love it. It's perfect. Put it right next to my helmet.
Natalie, I just want to thank you for helping me to see new things. The importance every time I'm near a bicycle lane, I'm always like, what would Natalie do? So thank you for helping me see that. Michael, I got something special for you. Let's see if I can find it.
A Virginia tie.
Yeah, I know how much you enjoy ties, and I know that those colors will really resonate with you.
Certainly want to rep the University of Virginia.
Say again?
Certainly want to rep the University
Yeah.
of Virginia.
I just wanted to say,
Probably
Mike.
paid sales tax on that.
Right.
I just wanted to say, Michael, that I've learned so much from you. My opinion of you going in was very different than how I learned you to be. It just goes to show how we can have wrong assumptions. I found you to be just an amazing colleague. You've been a real partner. I'm really grateful for you helping me to always, like even earlier tonight, focus on the poor and the people that are marginalized. I'm very grateful for that. Kina, I'm almost done. Huh. Oh, here they are. Kina, this is for you, and this is for Max. And Sam, that's for you. Kina, I just want to thank you and your staff for all of the late nights and weekends, for taking care of us. People don't see how much people have no idea what goes into the logistics of these meetings, and I thank you for that. And Max, the same for you. I just wanted to let you know that one of my high points of every meeting is I can always count on a really good meal. And I know that's because of your care and attention. And I also gave something to Ashley. I'm grateful to her for helping me see new things, particularly with respect to the unhoused and the marginalized.
Thank you.
Thank you, brother. Appreciate it. I'm sure you'll be thinking about us the first and third.
Oh, yeah, I'll be thinking about
Mondays.
Mr. Mayor?
Yes.
Can I make a
Yes.
quick comment? One of the things that I wanted to point out for folks who may not remember, that 4 years ago, we had no plan for how we were going to build Buford, how we were going to remake Buford into Charlottesville Middle School. We had put a number in the budget a couple of years out in the capital improvement plan, $50 million. But we didn't know how we were going to get there. And Brian, in the budget season in early 2022, basically at the beginning of his term, he jumps in and he says, okay, here's how we're going to do it. We're going to cut this, we're going to move this to the next year, we're going to do this, 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 and this. And now we had a plan. And that was a plan that nobody else had come up with. For about 10 years, we had talked about this. And Brian put the plan together. And then it made sense, and the rest of us voted for it. And I think that it's one of those things that, you know, they're not going to name the school after you or anything, but it's something that those of us who were in on things at the time recognized as a real contribution that is going to make a huge difference for everybody. It's making a huge difference for our, 6th and 7th and 8th graders and 6th about to be graders. And it just made a big difference, and it took somebody who had some fresh eyes on the problem, brand new to council, fresh eyes and a willingness to throw things up in the air and have them come out the right way. So, thank you. Thank you.
Thank you.
And obviously, I know the thing that you're going to miss is the Retirement Commission, and you're going to have a lot of tales to tell people about the Retirement Commission.
Oh, yes, it's been lovely.
The work you did on it. But no, I mean, to just echo what Lloyd said, and as you said, obviously we came in being ideologically different, you know, in the grand scheme of things, not that different, but more moderate Democrat versus myself being a democratic socialist. And certainly we disagree and have disagreed, and like everything in politics, when you disagree, you know, you can get annoyed and grumpy. I'm also grumpy all the time. So, but in all seriousness, you know, I think you've always been open and listened. You've changed my perspective on things. You've helped me see things a different way. And I think one of the things, you know, I always clearly saw is that every decision you made, whether agree or disagree with it, it wasn't rooted in a personal grievance or some calculation of will this be politically advantageous. At the end of the day, it was rooted in what you believed was right. And as Lloyd touched on, there's a lot of things behind the scenes that people in the community don't necessarily see. And I think you've been a part of a lot of behind the scene work on getting things like, as Lloyd mentioned, a plan for the completion of Buford renovation and a plan to approach school facility buildings in a better way, to be support for, you know, the Dogwood housing portfolio purchase to prevent displacement and long-term create affordable housing, on approving a unionization plan that was more expansive than maybe some of the initial plans coming forward, and environmental initiatives, affordable housing initiatives on zoning, investments, other areas. And again, people in the community, you know, maybe don't always see all this stuff, but you've played a very important role behind the scenes on all those issues.
Thank you.
So, thank you.
I'll say something brief because my term on council has been brief compared to the rest of you. But from the start, I was talking to Brian before the meeting started about this is a council that I've been it's been really nice to be a part of this particular council, and a lot of that has to do with, we're on 2 boards together, the MPO especially. I walked into that kind of feeling a little lost, and it was good to know I had somebody on our team to kind of guide me through that right at the beginning. And being on council in general, like Michael said, your decisions come from a place of doing the work and considering the angles and always being kind and open-minded. And I really appreciate that example that you've set, and for being part of what feels like a team. Even though we differ at the margins. We're all trying to do the best for our community, and I think you really exemplify that.
Thank you.
Enjoy your retirement.
Your new
from
time,
council.
yes. Well, thank you. The next item on our agenda is Community Matters. We have 4 pre-registered speakers, the opportunity for 12 more. And the first speaker is Rebecca Ellison.
Good evening. My name is Rebecca Ellison, and I'm a City of Charlottesville resident, but here this evening representing VIA Centers for Neurodevelopment as the Director of Advancement. VIA is a Charlottesville-based nonprofit that's been serving the community for nearly 30 years by providing compassionate, evidence-based services for people with autism and related disabilities. We offer specialized schools, adult day programs, and early intervention, meeting individuals and their families at every stage of life. VIA is a proud fiscal year 26 recipient of the Vibrant Community Fund grant. I sincerely thank you for being an essential partner in our work and want to share more about the significant impact your support has had on the families we serve. Many of the individuals in our program engage in challenging behaviors that displaces them from their home public school, stemming from an inability to communicate basic wants and needs. Through highly individualized programs, we teach communication, academic, vocational, and social skills to replace those challenging behaviors with functional communication, allowing them to build the skills they need to be active and engaged in our community. This specialized care offers an equally critical service to our caregivers: relief and stability. When a loved one is safely and productively engaged in a VIA program, parents and guardians are able to work, care for siblings, and attend to their own health. Currently, the demand for our services exceeds our capacity. Every day a student is on our wait list, they miss opportunities for essential skill building, and the family shoulders the burden of full-time care, often impacting the caregiver's ability to work in our community. To address this, we are undertaking a capital project to expand school services. The new school, once complete in late 2026, will serve up to 100 students in our Charlottesville community. A special component of our school will be an intensive neurobehavioral classroom. The goal of this program is to keep children facing placement in out-of-area residential facilities here, at home, in our community, and with their families. Furthermore, our adult services offer dignity, structure, and continued growth. Medicaid waivers only cover about half of what it costs for a quality program for individuals with significant disabilities, so we rely on operational fundraising and strong community partners. VIA is also in the very early stages of building a residential services program to answer the question of aging caregivers of what will happen to my loved one when I am gone. VIA is not just a service provider, we're an important part of Charlottesville's social safety net. We give some of our most vulnerable community members a voice, a future, and a safe place to learn, which allows them and their families to thrive. I want to thank you again for your continued support and ask that you remain an active partner as we expand our capacity to serve more folks in our community. If you're interested in learning more, I'd love to host you for a tour. Councilman Pinkston already took me up on this offer about a year ago, and I'm just grateful for your support and partnership as we work to make Charlottesville an inclusive community. Thank you.
Thank you, Rebecca, and I appreciate VIA's participation in cooperation with Charlottesville City Schools. I know that y'all do a lot to draw people to this community, because I know what you're doing is some of the more innovative things on the whole East Coast, and so thank you all for your work and thinking about your residents, your students beyond once they age out. So you're thinking a few steps ahead. So thank you. Yeah, I'll be in touch. I don't see Joy here. She's the next speaker, so I will go with Wendy.
Hi, Wendy Gao. I organize at FAR. I have spent a lot of time recently listening and talking to elders in our community about land. West Main Street is built on violently stolen, unceded Monacan land and formerly Black-owned land. Most people don't know that the flats in the Standard are standing on land that used to be part of Gospel Hill. People most commonly associate the UVA Hospital and Lee Street as sitting on top of Gospel Hill, but it was expansive and stretched up to West Main Street to the site that LV Collective wants to build their 11-story building on. Gospel Hill was home to many freed Black families in Charlottesville after Reconstruction, but UVA violently destroyed Gospel Hill in the 60s and 70s to build parking lots and medical buildings. There's no physical trace of Gospel Hill today. What remains instead is the flats and the Standard, which you can see looming over West Haven from the bottom of the hill. Every night, over 1,000 UVA students in the flats and the Standard lay their heads down and go to sleep in luxury apartments on land that was stolen from free working-class Black families. You can't talk about LV Collective without talking about Gospel Hill. You can't talk about LV Collective without talking about urban renewal, Jim Crow, Reconstruction, or chattel slavery. West Main Street used to exist for the community before it was an outpost for UVA. There used to be a Safeway and a Reed's for people to buy food and groceries. Stacy Hall, the UVA administrative building that is being used as a marker to allow the MARC to be built with less affordability requirements, used to be a Sears. The Lark used to be a furniture store, and all of it was affordable and for the community. But all of that has been lost. The loss and transformation of all of these community fixtures into the Omni Hotel in 600 West Main and the Graduate have also meant the loss and displacement of many people who used to live and work here and be able to afford living here. This isn't about supply or demand of housing or more tax revenue for the city. This is about the Black community of Charlottesville getting the land from under their feet, literally ripped out from under them for profit and money over and over and over and over and over and over and over again. Tomorrow, the MARC on 7th Street is going to the Board of Architectural Review, and an appeal will inevitably be headed to council in January. You all have a work session about student housing and by right zoning scheduled in January. When that time comes, please deny the MARC and do whatever you can to fix the zoning code to protect Black neighborhoods. We will be there, so we'll see you in the new year, and we definitely will not be letting up until we get the protections that Black communities in the city need and deserve.
Thank you. Alicia.
Good evening. My name is Alicia Lenahan, and I live in the county. In regard to the resolution condemning non-transparent federal immigration enforcement tactics, I appreciate the questions raised by members of the council and hope to use this time to respond. First, we agree that the Constitution is the supreme law of the land. I have said that the 1st, 4th, 5th, 6th, 7th, 8th, 10th, and 14th Amendments support passage of the resolution. You have said that the Constitution precludes you from regulating how federal agents operate in this community. The facts and the law bring me to a different conclusion. The FBI has reported that individuals posing as ICE agents have committed violent crimes, making it necessary to confirm the identity and legitimacy of those claiming to act as federal agents. There is no question that the Charlottesville Police Department can and should, indeed is required to, arrest someone committing assault and battery with a dangerous weapon, a crime that would be aggravated if the assailant was wearing a mask to hide their identity. The resolution says the city strongly condemns using unmarked vehicles, masked agents, and unidentifiable personnel in immigration enforcement activities conducted within the city and views such tactics as harmful to public trust, community safety, and constitutional protections. The resolution directs the police department to monitor any suspected federal enforcement activity in the city and, when legally permissible, confirm the identity and legitimacy of individuals claiming to act as federal agents. Second, from the beginning, you have expressed concern about calling attention to Charlottesville. Retaliation is a common theme. Now is the time to lay low and let the storm pass. We need look only as far as UVA to see what conciliation and capitulation are doing to an institution founded as a place where truth could be pursued freely and recognizing that ignorance threatens freedom. You've also said that things are being done quietly without publicly bragging about not helping ICE, except that the chief has publicly highlighted the limitations the city has placed on its use of flock cameras. He has publicly highlighted the city's refusal to enter into a 287G agreement. This body is too cautious to affirm our commitment to due process, equal protection, and the rights of all individuals within this jurisdiction. This body will not uphold our values as a safe, inclusive, and law-abiding community where government transparency and political safety remain paramount. I'll close with this from Justice Sotomayor. The rule of law is not a given in this nation or any other. It is a precept of our democracy that will endure only if those brave enough in every branch fight for its survival. Because if you don't, there won't be anything left when the storm has passed. Thank you.
Thank you. Who else would like to speak? We have opportunity for 13 more speakers. Anyone else want to speak right now? Yes, sir.
Good evening.
Good evening.
My name is Paul Reeder and I live at 211 5th Street Southwest. First off, I'd like to applaud the Council for holding a working session on student housing development in Charlottesville. This is desperately needed given that so much student housing is currently being built and that so much is currently proposed. When I started investigating this subject several months ago, I was shocked at the lack of any coordination between the city and the university. I hope that your working session will closely involve the university and that you can develop a joint strategy that considers both the current and future supply of housing as well as the demand for that housing. Second, I'd like to correct a related but misleading statement by the Director of Neighbourhood Development Services to Council at your session on November the 3rd when the student housing work session was discussed. In response to a question from Councillor Payne, Kelly Brown stated that the grounds is not defined to include any of the hospital system. This is not correct. The zoning administrator has recently issued a determination of the boundary in the case of the 7th Street luxury student housing proposal that follows NDS's past practice of including the entirety of the old hospital up to Jefferson Park Avenue within the central grounds definition. You may be surprised to hear that, as nowhere is the term hospital used in the definition in the affordable housing guidelines. I shall be appealing the zoning administrator's definition to the Board of Zoning Appeals and hope that you may join me in giving witness to your legislative intent. Lastly, I'd like to invite all members of Council to attend the Board of Architectural Review meeting tomorrow night to hear firsthand the community's opposition to the luxury student housing development on 7th Street. The BAR decision will almost certainly be appealed to this City Council. So this will be a good chance to hear the arguments that are being made on both sides. My apologies if that means another night away from your families. I truly appreciate the service you give to our community. Councillor Pinkston, I thank you for the last 4 years. You are excused. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Who else would like to speak up? Let's start over here. Here in the middle, anyone else like to speak right now? Anyone over here? Okay, we'll close the public hearing. There'll be another opportunity at the end. We're now going to the consent agenda. Madam Clerk?
It's a long one.
Yes.
So, consent agenda number 3, minutes, October 20th, November 3rd, November 17th, and December 1 regular meetings. 4, resolution to amend FY 2026 contribution to the Charlottesville-Albemarle Convention and Visitors Bureau, $167,867, second reading. 5, resolution to appropriate Virginia Department of Education Special Nutrition Program Child and Adult Care Food Program, $25,000, second reading. Number 6, ordinance amending the city code to define school zones for all schools and reflect their current names, second reading. And I just wanted to note that you all have a physical copy of the corrected ordinance in front of you, and that includes comments made from Councilor Snook that you all agreed on for the distance for signage at 750 feet. 7, ordinance granting a franchise agreement to MCI Communication Services, LLC, second reading. 8, ordinance amending City Code Section 2-38, organizational meeting, second reading. 9, resolution to, actually, there are 2 resolutions. 1 is to dissolve the Regional Transit Partnership, and 2 is to approve a memorandum of understanding for administration of the Charlottesville-Albemarle Regional Transit Authority, or CARTA, by the Thomas Jefferson Planning District Commission. Number 10, resolution to grant $50,000 to the Residential Energy Retrofit Mini Grant Program, one of 2 readings. 11, a resolution to accept Huntley Avenue and Morgan Court into the city street system. 12, resolution for compromise of claim, water and wastewater leak credit of $10,707.03 for the Melbourne Park Owners Association. 13, a resolution for compromise of claim, water and wastewater leak credit of $12,454.93 for McGuffey Homeowners Association. 14, a resolution to appropriate $303,660 from the Building Resilient Infrastructure and Communities, or BRIC, grant program for the City of Charlottesville, Rock Creek Watershed Management Plan, one of 2 readings.
You're right, it was Can I get a motion to
Move for adoption of the consent agenda.
Second.
second? Any discussion?
And then, similar to last meeting, I'm fine to just vote for the consent agenda, noting my opposition to item number 4. But
Resolution.
Same as
Yeah,
last
yeah,
meeting.
yeah.
There's no need to discuss or anything.
Are we doing it electronically? Everyone signed in, Keena?
Looks like
Okay.
everyone signed in. So I initiated the vote.
Okay. The next item on the agenda is city manager's report.
Yes, sir, Mr. Mayor and members of council, members of the public. A few things in this report. The first item is an update on the status of the city's use of the Flock system. The one-year pilot ended at the end of October, as was originally allowed when CPD began use of that system. Chief Kochis held a series of community briefings at the end of that period, a requirement that was approved as a part of the pilot. Council has since received a performance briefing and learned of the positive results in solving cases, but because of ongoing concerns for protection of data, potential for misuse by outside forces, and an inability to guarantee our local parameters will protect information from being used outside of how the local law enforcement personnel were using the system, council has requested that we not move forward with this system. So that pilot has now ended. The cameras are being removed, and we will continue to do our responsible work just without the use of automatic license plate readers. There has been a request for a technology work session so that we can dig into how systems like this and other things are becoming a part of the normal use in law enforcement activity around the country, and we need to have more discussions about that. So just wanted to report that publicly for public consumption, that we have ended the use of Flock. We're not going to carry forward with that program. It's not the only system, which is why we're interested in having the technology conversation, and that will be scheduled in your upcoming work session series for 2026. On that, in addition to that, we are going to have what we're calling an approach to student housing work session. Right now, it's tentatively scheduled for January 20th. It'll be a chance for council to hear more about some of the varying situations that have arisen as it relates to where we're permitting student housing, to what degree we want to have the volume of student housing, the height concerns and things that have just been a part of the conversation as we have even heard this evening. So we're going to plan for a work session there, and staff is working to build what that work session will consist of, and then turn that into a discussion point for you all. An update for the public, the city manager's budget series is a new thing. I've been doing a budget forum since I've been in the seat. We've done a budget forum for probably forever, right, Chrissy? But I am doing, I'm taking the series to the people. So instead of everyone coming to one location, we're going to have 3 budget series, budget work sessions, January 13th, 14th, and 15th in 3 different places in the city. Be talking to my leadership team tomorrow because they're excited about the chance to join me for 3 consecutive nights in a row. But the goal would be to make sure that we create the opportunities for the public to engage with us in the crafting of the FY27 budget. Last year, I introduced the use of Monopoly, using Monopoly money, and we're going to continue to do that because it was a hit for those who were able to make it, and try to use that as a way for helping individuals understand what it feels like to be me when it comes to making decisions, very, very difficult decisions with limited amounts of money, but a whole lot of priorities. And then the last announcement that I have, big for me and the team, is that I am happy to report that I have extended offers and they have been accepted for a new assistant city manager. Evan Pilichowski will join us on January 5th. He is relocating from Manatee, Florida. And another assistant city manager, Sam Roman, will be joining us on February 2nd. He's relocating from Roanoke, Virginia, and he has agreed to go by Roman, not by Sam, so that we can distinguish which Sam is anyone's referencing, because I'm the only Sam that matters, of course. And then we have an economic mobility officer. Her name is Abigail Wade. She joins us on January 5th as well, and she is local. So these are the new members to the reorganized city manager's office, which is meant to bring capacity and a committed focus to quality and consistency.
Did you say Abigail Wade?
Yes.
She's is no kin to me.
I was waiting for you to say
Yeah.
it. And that is my report.
Not that she's willing to claim anyway.
I know, yes.
And sorry, Sam, when is everybody starting?
January 5th for Evan and Abigail, and February 2nd for Roman.
Great. So, any other items?
That's it.
That's it. We're now at the action items. The first item on the agenda is ordinance to vacate Clark Court, a city-maintained street, and it's the second reading. Matt, or?
No, here he is.
Oh, I'm sorry.
The man.
Good evening, Council. John Maddox, City Attorney. Here to present the item, Clark Court. As you recall, on November 3rd, the City Council conducted a public hearing, and following that public hearing, authorized my office to enter into negotiations regarding the vacation of Clark Court. From that prior meeting, you'll recall that Clark Court is a small cul-de-sac off of Maury Avenue, which is in turn off of Jefferson Park Avenue. The cul-de-sac, it touches 2 parcels, both of which are owned by the applicant, the Jefferson Scholars Foundation. The focus of the negotiations for vacating the right-of-way was, first of all, the securing of easements that are necessary for utilities passing through the area. This would be able to access those in the future if needed, as well as appropriate compensation for the loss of city street and 5 parking spaces that go along with the use of it as a public right-of-way. An evaluation by the city assessor returned a valuation of $618,000 for the right-of-way, and so the negotiated price of $750,000 reflects a significant premium on vacating a right-of-way and for giving up 5 public parking spaces. As such, it is my recommendation that City Council adopt the proposed ordinance vacating Clark Court. Now, of course, I never get up here without some kind of wrinkle, and just before I stepped up here, the applicant actually handed me a slight modification to the ordinance language. They had a survey done and to fully define the land that encompasses the right-of-way, and I'm suggesting a small amendment to the ordinance, essentially just saying that in the first, be it ordained, the subject street is hereby closed, vacant, and abandoned. In said area, the subject street being more particularly described as follows. Instead of saying a 48.14-foot platted street, I'm just going to say a street designated as Clark Court, running from Maury Avenue and adjoining the lots identified on 2025 City Real Estate Tax Map 17, parcels 91 and 92. So with that amendment, I would recommend adopting the ordinance.
So that's a modification to what we're seeing as page 196 of our packet.
I believe that's correct, yes.
Or an ordinance closing, vacating, and discontinuing the public road, et cetera.
That's correct.
And so you're striking the measurement of 148.14?
Yes, that's correct.
What was the change that they came up with?
I was handed these documents 5 seconds ago, but I believe that the area was actually slightly longer as indicated on the plat deed, or on the survey that was conducted. And so it is just slightly longer, and the applicant is here, and I can maybe ask their attorney to step up and explain that slight
That'd be
modification.
great, thanks.
Scott Rainey with Flora Pettit and representing the applicant, and I had noticed just in looking over this survey one more time, there's a line that's 148.14 feet. There's also another small line that the surveyor marks as L1 because of how short it is, and it's about an extra 10 feet. And so rather than specifying a different distance, I thought it just easier to say it's the platted street between those two tax map parcels.
Okay.
So I'll start with you, Michael. Do you have any questions or comments on this? I think we all kind of expressed it before, but we wanted to give you the opportunity.
And just to confirm, I see it in there, but there's easements for the city for all public infrastructure.
That is correct. You see that the vacation is conditioned upon the applicant granting the city any and all easements necessary and appropriate for maintenance, replacement, or upkeep of any public utilities within or adjacent to the subject street. So they're going to need to grant us those easements prior to this becoming effective.
Mm-hmm. And I'll just say, I'm not saying that there's anything not allowed or illegitimate. I'll just remark that the strangeness in my mind of a private entity very closely connected to UVA, but a private entity right across the street from this parcel, having bought it after multifamily housing was approved, stopping development there, unsuccessfully trying to challenge multifamily development approved down the road, and then to my knowledge, at least according to the city's GIS, employees of the organization owning property directly behind what is in question tonight. I will just remark on the oddness of that. Again, just not saying anything not allowed or improper is happening, but it is very unique in terms of what I've seen on council. I will say when this first came before us, we were giving away city land for $10, I believe, which I think was particularly absurd and unwarranted. And so to have it come back before us tonight for what is in the world of fair market value as determined by the city assessor, and not just giving away city property for not what its value is worth, I think is a far better and more reasonable outcome, the overall strangeness of the situation notwithstanding.
I would, just for the record, the $10 was a placeholder. Well, before we negotiated, there was never going to be a $10 price for this piece of property.
Sure. Thank you.
Natalie?
Nothing for me.
Lloyd, you have any?
As I recall, it has been the policy of the city for a number of years that if a property if somebody owns property on both sides of an alley or a dead-end street or something like that where passage through is not an issue, that we have tended to honor requests to vacate that alley, for example, and to sell that property to the adjoining landowners. Is that been the pattern?
My understanding is that it was kind of the Wild West. I'm speaking just from what I've been told. I wasn't here certainly, but it was kind of the Wild West of people were making requests and some were making their way, and a lot were all coming to council. And so I believe in 2019, council adopted a policy that really created a scoring system, so which particular vacation request would reach council depending on attaining a certain score in the rubric, whether it met certain policy goals of the council. So I think it's much more structured and there's more process behind it now.
And does this request fit into that process?
It's my understanding that it does, yes.
And the other point, just because it was raised by, at least in some comments to me after the meeting last time, is that one of the fundamental premises of land use law is that when you're making a decision about something like this, you're making it based not on whether you like the particular applicant, but on whether the land use makes sense. Is that fair to say?
However council wants to make its decisions, it's not really for me to say. What you decide generally, you make your decisions based on the identity of an applicant is not to be favored, just on the bare facts on the ground. I would say that's fair.
That's all. Thank you.
Can I get a motion for this proposal, please?
I move adoption of this resolution, this ordinance,
As amended.
as amended.
I'll second that motion.
Okay, can we vote, please? The motion passes 3-2. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
The next item on the agenda is the Derry Bridge Public Hearing Summary Presentation for endorsement.
Good evening, Mayor Wade, members of council.
Hello, sir.
Mike Gowder, Deputy Director of Public Works. Here to talk with you about the Derry Road Bridge project. In July, we gave a public hearing at the Walker Upper Elementary School regarding this project, and I wanted to report out what we heard from the public and to request your approval to continue the design process. So a little background on the project. So I'm just going to go through the presentation that we gave to the public. There's been some work since this, obviously, so I'll update you on that as well, and there will be some time for questions. So a little background that we gave the public on the bridge. This is the Derry Road Bridge, which was built in 1953. It had an expected life expectancy of 50 years, which obviously is well expired. The bridge condition is currently rated as poor and has been load restricted for quite some time, since 2007. So we would very much like to replace the bridge as quickly as possible. Back in 2021, VDOT agreed to award us $7.2 million in state of good repair funds for replacement of the bridge. I'm not sure all the background on how we got to 2024, but in 2024, $8.1 million was granted by VDOT, and that was increased to $12.6 million in 2025 once we'd gotten far enough down the road of design to understand the real value of the project. So a little background on the funding. VDOT's State of Good Repair program is meant to replace infrastructure in the most practical and cost-effective manner possible. VDOT is paying for 100% of this project currently. These are state and federal funds, and there are no city matching dollars currently. But the funding and the scope is fixed by VDOT. We did look into some alternatives as part of this project planning process. The first of those would be the western alternative. So in the center of the three lines going across the bypass, that's the current bridge. The one to the southeast side is our current pedestrian bridge. And then the blue is the alternative on the western end. So this would essentially be a way of leaving the existing bridge in place while we constructed a new bridge. The challenge here is that there are significant right-of-way concerns there. We would take property that would potentially render people's houses unusable. There's some significant utility impacts, and if we were to redesign in this direction at this point, it would be about an 18-month delay. We expect that overall this would contribute to a 50% increase in the project budget overall. We also looked at the eastern alternative. So this essentially replaces the existing pedestrian bridge with our bridge. The bullet here says the removal of the pedestrian bridge temporarily, but something would have to be done to replace it in the future. There would be, again, significant utility impacts. We start to get into a large transmission line pole that you can kind of see running through the southwest side of the project. So Dominion overhead lines could be impacted. There are significant impacts on Dairy Road and Gentry Lane, so that would be a right-of-way concern. And again, the redesign, about 18 months. We estimate that would be a 45% increase in the project budget. There's also been the suggestion of an in-place alternative. So if you were around for the Belmont Bridge replacement, people have suggested why not use half of the bridge and then switch to the other half, leaving it open for travel. There are some reasons there that you can read, but really the last one's the only one that matters, which is that this bridge is too narrow to be done that way. And we need to completely remove the abutments that the bridge rests on. So that's not really a viable alternative. So, and again, all of those increases in value, VDOT's unwilling to pay those. So that would all be local funds that would have to cover that difference. I'll talk a little bit about the detours. We've got some experts here as well who can fill you in if you have any questions about them. So we anticipate that the Dairy Road Bridge will be closed for 12 to 14 months. I think we've really narrowed that down a little bit. I don't think 14 months is likely, but of course we don't want to, we've got some contingency in there. We don't want to give that away just yet, but the closer we get to fully designed, I think we can trim that down a bit. All the local roadways will remain open, but there is a detour option, which I'll show in a little more detail. And there are some temporary movements that are going to help with that. Temporary signal at 250 eastbound off-ramp at Rugby Avenue, and we're going to review signal timing at Hydraulic Road and 250 bypass. Part of what complicates this project is that a lot of the work has to happen overnight or nights or weekends because we have to maintain traffic flow on the bypass. So here's a look at the detours. The main movement detour is on the left, where basically people come off the bypass up on the off-ramp and then continue down the on-ramp next to the what is now Walker Upper Elementary School. And then in the other direction, when we're having intermittent overnight detours, folks will go down Rugby Avenue to Barracks Road. And of course, as I said, all the other streets and options are still open, so folks can go whichever way they want to. Just to give you an overview of the public hearing, it was held at Walker Upper Elementary School, as I said, July 15th. There were 44 people in attendance that signed the form. Some might have snuck out without signing, I'm not sure. We had 16 official comments received, 14 via online form, etc. Generally, it was a pretty even split of support or lack thereof, but there were a few main comments that came up. Obviously, people are not pleased with the length of the closure. It is an inconvenience to folks who travel across that bridge on a daily basis. And one of the main things that we heard was that the bridge was not visually appealing. The renderings we showed at the time were pretty basic. It was a basic bridge design. We did reach out to VDOT, and they agreed to make some changes and to give us a little extra funding for some niceties. The main element there is an architectural stone finish. We want the bridge to look a little bit more like the bridges at the bypass John Warner Parkway intersection, if that makes sense. So they agreed to pay for those. it's a minor package, but it does make the bridge fit in a little better with what we've got in town. And then the question of the length of the closure was a big concern. One thing that we have looked into is trying to trim down our construction window as much as possible. And also, we're working with VDOT presently to see if we can provide monetary incentives. We're not quite up to the point where we need to bid the project yet, so we're still working through all of that. But we do hope to provide some incentive to speed the construction process up where possible. There were some questions about the detours, and our agreement is to closely monitor traffic patterns once the detour is implemented. Obviously, we could make signal timing adjustments, temporary changes in signing and marking along the effective routes, and increase traffic enforcement on the neighborhood streets. And then a little view into our project schedule as it stands. We plan to advertise the project August 2026. Construction begins December 26. Closure begins February 27. New bridge reopened March 28, and construction complete May 28. So that's all I have. We also, in the packet, have a rendering. Keena, is it possible to bring that up, or is that?
That'd be really.
Oh, sorry. Well, we'll see if this magically appears or not. In the meantime, and this rendering would represent what the bridge would look like after our new amenities were added, the beautification package, if you will. So with that, I'll welcome any questions.
Lord, I'll start with you.
Mr. Goddard, is there any place in the VDOT evaluation process for considering in some numerical fashion, like a cost-benefit analysis, for the cost of inconvenience to drivers, to the public as a whole, for traffic delays?
None that we're aware of. We have not been offered any opportunity. We've mentioned, our VDOT partners have been with us the whole way on the project. And they've heard our concern, but they consider this a situation where to fund sort of an advanced or accelerated building process would be outside of, this just doesn't come to the highest level of priority for them in terms of paying for that sort of thing.
But they made that determination that it was too expensive without having attempted to put a monetary value as a Federal Highway Administration cost-benefit analysis might on those other costs, correct?
As far as I'm aware, yes.
So if we were to say that it costs too much, how is too much, $5 too much? Is it, I know you've estimated that it would cost 20% more to do one of the accelerated bridge construction techniques, but if you're not putting any value at all on the negatives, and the only thing you're counting is the cost of the contract, you're not really considering the value or the cost to the community.
That is a fair point. However, some of our internal folks have done a few calculations to try and determine, based on our own sort of internal figuring, what that would come up to. And Brennan, would you mind coming up and giving a little background on that?
Brent Duncan, city engineer. So I had, after you had kind of given us some of these questions, I went through, and some of there's some assumptions in this, as far as how much the value of someone's time is as they're driving, and based on the travel time of the detours and those things that we were given by the consultant, Kinley Horn. If we went for an overall, the longest possible duration of 14 months, the value, or I guess the The detriment value of that would be roughly $1 million of travel time. If we went with the 2-month option, that.
That was just a number I picked out of the air, you know.
But I want to use that as an example here, because one, we don't think that's really reasonable. But even if you use that as kind of the fastest you could possibly do this, you would still have a 2-month outage, which would be about $150,000. So you've got about an $850,000 delta there between a 2-month option. Realistically, we think that a 6-month would be like, if you were building this out in a field where you didn't have to deal with, 250 traffic or any traffic, like the fastest you could actually build this bridge with no restraints would be about 6 months. If you use that, that's roughly $436. So again, you're maybe $550,000 worth of savings with using a premium of $2 million, to do alternative building methods for the bridge. Realistically, and Mike had started talking about this, we think we're probably going to be more in like a 10 to 12 month range when we're actually done, get closer to full design here. So, that's going to put us down, in a $300,000 to $450,000 delta. So again, that 300 versus $1 million, or versus $2 million for alternative bridge design, you've got a delta there of like 1.4 million. So I don't know if that.
I note on the website for the project, which if anybody's interested is derryroadbridge.org, it notes 3 takeaways from the public hearing on July 15th. The first was the length of construction, longer than desired. And just to be clear, I have no expertise in all of this, but I did talk to some folks who have considerably more expertise than I, and basically they were suggesting that 12 to 14 months is both optimistic and pessimistic. The optimistic side is that there is no cost overrun, no major delay, no obstacle found that gets in the way. The pessimistic side is that assuming no other delays, if you were to do something with perhaps financial incentives to motivate a contractor who's told we'll pay you X number of dollars extra if you get it done with no more than, say, a 6-month road closure, all of a sudden human creativity is amazing. And I would hope, I saw that there was some mention in here, and perhaps in the comments that you all made to me in response to my email, that suggested that maybe something like that could be done. You hadn't gotten to the bid stage yet, so maybe you could structure a bid such that it would include some incentives like that. The second point that's made, that was made consistently at the public hearing, was issues about making it more visually appealing. It was nice to get from the website at least the notion that the bridge would be trying to mimic the Route 250 bridge over McIntyre, over the John Warner Parkway. That's at least some reference, because one of the concerns that people had at that meeting was, you haven't given us anything that looks like a design. I will tell you that the picture that's up there right now, to me, is appealing simply because it gets rid of the pillars, and for a whole lot of reasons, it looks kind of cool, kind of sleek. Looking at it from the other side, of course, you've got the pedestrian bridge to contend with, and assuming that some engineers and architects and people could figure out how to make those line up so that they seem to make sense, I don't care about the picture, I just care about what the reality is going to be, and I assume you would figure that out. And then, of course, the concerns about the proposed detour. I live in Greenbrier. I know that an awful lot of people get into Greenbrier, particularly coming from the university, by going up and across that bridge. I also know that since the changes in hydraulic road and that whole realignment of things, and the stacking lane, I mean, VDOT even doubled the length of the stacking lane on 250 eastbound, and it's still stacking way up to the 29 bridge, I counted 35 cars at one point stopped in line, and that's effectively doubled, I think, from, say, 6 months or a year ago. And when I saw that you all had done traffic counts that suggested a certain number of trips across that bridge, I was thinking, was that before or after these changes at Hydraulic Road? And particularly because if you are in fact coming eastbound on 250 and you want to go into Greenbrier, an awful lot of people are going up to the Dairy Road Bridge rather than trying to negotiate that left turn and waiting through 3 turns of the light to be able to make the left turn onto Hydraulic. The consequence is you're now getting a traffic backup at the top of that off-ramp. So the numbers in terms of how many trips per day are going to be interfered with there, and more importantly, how many trips per day are going to be put onto other inadequate roads, I think is grossly underestimated.
Well, I just checked in with our engineer who's here with us, and he did affirm that those numbers were taken before the changes to the traffic pattern there. So I do think that's a concern. I don't think that this project is going to be painless. I wouldn't try and convince anybody of that. What I would say is that we will do our very best while the project is happening to monitor and keep an eye on those traffic patterns and do what we can in terms of light timing and potentially temporary signals or changes to traffic patterns to make it as safe as it can possibly be.
Those are the major concerns that I had, which I had sent a long email to a number of folks in the city government with my concerns, and I appreciate your responding in time for me to process them. I didn't want to play, stump the expert here on live TV, and so I'm glad to get some actual answers.
Your results will certainly be better when we have time to think about it ahead of time, so thank you for that.
Brian, any comments?
I know that I've already asked you this question, but I'll ask it again for the benefit of the public. The pedestrian bridge will stay open during the whole project, right?
Whole generally, yes. I would say there will probably be a few intermittent blockages just because some things might have to move through that zone that would be unsafe. But generally speaking, yes, it's open for the entire project.
Okay, great. So people can still bike and walk back and forth.
Yeah, I guess that's one of the benefits of biking and walking.
One of the many. Okay, thank you.
You may have already touched on this, but is the city or VDOT doing the project management for this project?
Our capital development division is through our LAP program with VDOT. So it's our project managers.
Okay. And, I kind of already know that the answer is no, but does the city have anyone who performs the role as kind of like city architect who would be involved, earlier on in a project like this and having some role in the aesthetic design of things?
Not presently, no. I would say that, not formally, our team in capital development typically holds a very high standard in terms of aesthetics. But different projects, I would say, have different needs, and we try and respond to those needs. In this case, the bridge is, I went through great pains to explain the condition of the bridge. It's safe today, but it won't always be that way. So spending time on a Belmont Bridge level design process, I think would be detrimental. Generally speaking, we are kind of the folks who help guide design in the direction we want it to go. So where we can, we do take great pains in that regard.
Mm-hmm. And I know, this project is advanced enough along, it's not going to happen. But I do think it was something that was discussed ages ago, having, a more formalized role of someone who's performing that kind of role, which I do think would be of value because, I don't think this or every project needs that kind of Belmont Bridge community design engagement. But I think a non-engineering, non-project management type perspective on aesthetic designs that is not, just free for all on what could happen, I think can address some of the concerns the community has. I mean, certainly across Virginia, certainly across the world, you can see public infrastructure projects which, are not going to be studied by architecture departments, but are much more beautiful in very functional ways than what we've done. Final question is for where the traffic is going to be rerouted. Is there currently any plans for addressing the increased traffic that's going to go there, for what we'll do to protect pedestrian and bike safety in terms of doing things like adding speed tables or more things to slow down traffic?
We don't have a plan for that just yet. Correct me if I'm wrong, folks who are here. But I do think that's a consideration we'll be looking into as we get into the final stages of design. We'll put a little more work into the detour paths and make sure that those are safe. And as I said, we'll be monitoring things as it goes along to try and remedy any unsafe conditions that we notice. Absolutely, come on up.
So for the main detour routes, the one kind of to the northwest is utilizing the roundabout, the new roundabout at Hillsdale. That one has rapid flashing beacons as where most of those pedestrians would be crossing. The other direction would utilize the Rugby Avenue exit, which we've just recently installed the four-way stop there. And before this bridge goes in and the detour routes would go into place, we're hoping to have the small section of sidewalk and crosswalk at that intersection as well, to help deal with any getting pedestrians through that intersection, where there may be conflict. So we do have plans that we are working on or that are already in place for both vehicle and pedestrian safety at kind of the conflict points.
Well, obviously, I think that just has to be a major priority. And looking through the comments, I think obviously this bridge needs to be replaced. There's no question about that. No matter how it's done, there's going to be a disruption. There's no question about that. Reading through the comments, it's like with everything. I think there's some people who are like, they don't want it to happen, period. But I think there's a lot of people who agreed it needed to happen, knew there was going to be a disruption, but were concerned about some of the basic questions about design or what's going to happen with the rerouting. What will the path of the rerouting be? And I'll just end by saying, like I said, I know this needs to happen, but as I read the feedback, I think skepticism from the community is completely warranted and fair when you look at the history we've had on infrastructure projects, how many are still over budget, not completed yet, things like with the Belmont Bridge pedestrian and bike infrastructure that wasn't added at the end of it when the expectation was that it would be. I know we've improved a lot, but I think that's some of the skepticism of the community is just we have a lot of work still to do on proving, we are making positive changes, which I believe we are, but that's how I interpret a lot of the community feedback.
And I agree. That's fair feedback. The history of this program is what we have to bear, but all we can do is work towards improving it, and I think we're making great progress in that regard. So. Public sentiment doesn't come around in a day, so we'll continue.
So what is being requested of us tonight?
There's a document in the packet.
Basically, we're being asked to endorse the plan that we're seeing and basically the time frame that you're giving us because we're under a budget restriction. So if we want to come up with some option of being able to expedite it, we'd have to figure out another fund source for that. So I guess is that something y'all want to figure out tonight, or is that a later thing? Or what you need right now is just overall endorsement to be able to get this going, correct?
Yeah, what I would say is that the options as I see them are to endorse the project that we're working on now. Otherwise, we'll need additional time, additional funding, and it's not a path I would recommend.
Yeah, I wouldn't either. So
I have one small question before we make a motion. Who rates the bridges? Is it VDOT or is it?
It's the
Federal?
it's the agency, Brown.
I mean, We do our own bridge inspections, but they're part of the FHWA overall program. So we do it, we send it to VDOT, VDOT sends it to the feds. But it's a,
So there's a
it's a
criteria.
national rating program.
Okay, thanks. I was just curious. Thank you. Okay.
Would you entertain a motion at this point? or-
Can I first ask one more question, Mr. Goddard? In your answers to me about other things, you wrote, "We've reached out to VDOT, one of the key takeaways from the public hearing was an interest in making the bridge more visually interesting than the provided renderings suggested. We've reached out to VDOT and made the plea for additional funding to this end. VDOT was willing to provide $100,000. And then, let's say we included a rendering of what the effect of these funds would likely be. Do I understand that VDOT has approved the notion of us spending $100,000 in some further design process, or has that $100,000 already been spent to generate these renderings?
That $100,000 is construction value, so that goes into the materials and the construction of the bridge and
To make it more aesthetic.
more aesthetically pleasing fashion, yeah.
Okay, so it's not, the 100, I may have misunderstood this. I had thought that the $100,000 was in part to allow for some other design professional types to take a look at the thing.
No, that's a construction value, and essentially what they're looking at is the stamped concrete treatments that I talked about, as well as some colorations and some different railing treatments. It might help to know that the renderings that you're seeing now were not shown at the July 15th public hearing. That is the result of our...
Like this?
Yeah, that's what you would have seen. So...
I mean, this is what we saw in July, or this is, I mean, these are the things that were provided in the packet.
We had no renderings in July.
That's what I thought, okay.
So, yeah.
So this is the new version.
That's the new version.
That we think might be $100,000 more.
Correct, yeah.
I'll entertain a motion.
Yeah, I move to proceed with bridge design as initiated with the inclusion of aesthetic treatment as approved for funding by VDOT.
Second.
Any further discussion? If not-
I would like to ask whether, if that were the simple motion as it was put forward, Mr. Goddard, would you interpret that as including the notion of being able to set as a condition for the funding of this, or the bidding process, some kind of incentive perhaps to expedite the time during which the bridge would actually be out? Or do we need to specify that as something else we want you to consider, or VDOT to consider?
I will certainly work on that consideration. I can't agree to make that contingent on the whole process, that consideration is approved by VDOT, obviously, but yeah, we absolutely will.
Well, and you need funding set aside for that, correct?
Well, that's what I'm getting at is, I just want to make clear that I want that effort to be undertaken, and that there is still time to undertake that effort. But I want it undertaken because I don't want to just say, okay, we're willing to live with 14 months. Because I'm not happy about that, nor those of, you live not too far from there. I'm sure you would not be happy about it either.
I guess I'm only, are we tying a future council's hand or something if we?
We can just say we would prefer that you keep those options in mind, but it's not contingent on anything in the motion.
I guess the question is effort and guarantee. Those are two very different things.
Yeah, it's not
And we would
there's
need
no
clarity of
guarantee.
what
the direction
You have to identify.
Because we can put forth the effort to make sure that that is discussed and worked into the arrangement, provided funding is available to actually fund an incentive. Otherwise, we would be short of the resources necessary to even pay the incentive. We can't go back to VDOT and ask for more money. We know that for sure.
Sure, yeah, go ahead. We have an expert.
Good evening, John Oliver, Kimley Horn and Associates. For the consultant hired by the city on this effort. We do a lot of work with VDOT in the city of Charlottesville and elsewhere, so we're very familiar with the VDOT process. And usually the way it works is they will allow you to use some of this $12 point something million as a portion of that incentive. Usually those costs are recovered out of that pot of money because as the contractor finishes early, you are not paying a consultant or an inspector as long to be out there. And so basically that cost savings that you're not paying an inspector or an engineer, as VDOT frequently allows, can then go to the contractor. So there are some financial ways we can, in our bid documents, incentivize the contractor without having to come up with the city's money. Now, what those costs are and will VDOT approve, I cannot say until we involve them at that point, and we have to be very close to having a detailed schedule to understand the costs. But that is very common in VDOT bidding and construction process to allow that to happen.
And to clarify, the 12 to 14 months includes contingency. It's all entirely possible it gets finished earlier anyway.
We would fully expect that we would incentivize a contractor to say, if you finish this in less than, the bridge is closed to open in, I'm going to say 9 months, 10 months, we'll pick the right number. If you hit that date, then you are eligible for financial incentives. And on the contrary, too, there are ways to disincentivize a contractor if they say, if you take longer than 14 months, we're going to start charging you by the day, because quite honestly, at that point, too, you're paying an engineer and inspector to be out there every day because of the contractor. But it's a financial balancing point when you determine the right construction length for a project, right? If you want to get your kitchen renovated and you tell every contractor that they have a week to do it, you're going to run everybody off, right? Or someone's going to give you an outrageous number. So it's setting the wide enough window to get competition to bring prices down while not giving the contractors more time than they really need to get it done.
I want the effort to be undertaken. I understand it can't be guaranteed.
Yep.
Okay.
Okay. So it's been moved properly second. Further discussion? If not, if we can vote. The motion passes 5-0. Thank you all very much. This is the second opportunity for public matter.
You have one additional item.
I'm sorry. Yes.
Good evening, Mayor Wade, members of council. I'm Chris Cullinan, the City Director of Finance. This agenda item is a report, presentation of the FY25 audit results by the city's auditors. The Code of Virginia requires that localities have their accounts and records audited annually as of June 30th by an independent certified public accounting firm in accordance with specifications furnished by the Auditor of Public Accounts. State code also requires that the city's auditor to report to the governing body at a public session. Tonight, Michael Lupton from the firm Robinson Farmer Cox and Associates will present a verbal report to City Council for the fiscal year 2025, which was July 1st, 2024 through June 30th, 2025. I'm also joined tonight by Mr. Charles Clemmer, the city's comptroller. Mr. Lupton is going to invite him up now to give his report, and he and myself and Mr. Clemmer will be available for any questions you might have. And once we've concluded that, we'll kind of lay out the roadmap for where we go from here with finishing up, closing the books on FY25 and the next steps for the year-end appropriation. So, Mr. Lupton.
Thank you, Chris. Mr. Mayor, members of council, good evening. Thank you for having me this evening. As Chris noted, my name is Michael Lupton. I am a partner at the Charlottesville office of Robinson Farmer Cox Associates, and I have had the pleasure of serving as the concurrent partner in charge of the city's audit for the last several years. We issue 2 reports as part of the annual comprehensive financial report document. Those 2 reports are the auditor's report and then our report over government auditing standards. The rest of the document, which is about 160 pages in total, is that of city management. They are the creators of that document and they are responsible for the fair presentation of that document. Our auditor's report, within that report, it includes a section that distinguishes management's responsibilities and the auditor's responsibilities as part of the audit process. Management, as I mentioned, is responsible for the financial statements. They're responsible for making sure the financial statements are materially correct. and fairly presented in accordance with generally accepted accounting principles. And they are also responsible for maintaining a system of internal controls conducive to the fair presentation of those financial statements. Our responsibility as the auditors is to perform the audit in accordance with our professional standards and ultimately to obtain sufficient and appropriate audit evidence to render an opinion on the financial statements. There are still items we are working through to resolve and to complete as part of the FY25 audit process, but we fully expect to be able to issue and render an unmodified opinion on the financial statements. The unmodified opinion is the best opinion that we can offer in our profession. It is a clean opinion, and it means that the financial statements as presented is materially correct in accordance with generally accepted accounting principles. The second report that we include in the annual comprehensive financial report document is our report in accordance with government auditing standards. As part of an audit in accordance with government auditing standards, we review the internal control environment for the purpose of developing our audit procedures, We do not opine on the effectiveness of those controls. However, as part of that process, if we become aware of any deficiencies in the controls that we deem to be significant deficiencies or material weaknesses, we are required to communicate those to you. I'm pleased to report that as part of the FY25 audit process, we did not deem any deficiencies to be significant deficiencies or material weaknesses. With that, that concludes my report, and I welcome any questions that you all have for me at this time.
Thank you very much. Any questions on?
Only one, for the public, the text of it will be published on the city's website December 31st, correct?
That is the date we are shooting for. We have a requirement from the Auditor of Public Accounts to have it in place by then. We can get an extension, but I do not want to go there, as they say. So yes, we are endeavoring to get that full report done by the end of the month. And as Michael mentioned, I think we're actually up to over 180 pages now. And this is one of the increasing challenges. I think when I started here 10 years ago, the report was about 150 pages. And so it might not sound like a lot, 30 pages, but we get new accounting standards every year promulgated by the Government Accounting Standards Board, which is commonly known as GASB. More and more things that we're required to report and show and document, and it just adds time and length to this process, including that of preparing the report. There's the number crunching audit side of things, but then we actually prepare our report ourselves, which adds time to that because we have to prepare it, they have to review that, there's some back and forth in terms of corrections and so forth. And so it's just the process that we go through to produce that report is getting lengthier and lengthier. And while the intent is to provide more transparency, to identify more long-term liabilities, to more accurately depict the financial position of the city, not only today, but going forward, I would certainly offer the opinion it's adding more and more complexity and more pages and more tables. And so I sometimes wonder if in that effort to increase transparency, it's not making it a little bit more opaque in terms of those additional details. But with that, I'll be happy to answer a question, or if Mr. Lupton, you have any more questions for Mr. Lupton?
That's it for me. Thank you.
I'm good.
Okay. So
where we go from here is once the audit is finished, we have the report written, we have the written opinion from the auditors. We will be bringing to you sometime in January the year-end appropriation for FY25. There are typically some housekeeping things that we have to do in order to close the books. We'll have those for you, and there will also be at that time an in-depth analysis and discussion by myself of how we got to those results, what happened during the fiscal year 25. Also, to the extent that there are any surplus funds available, there will be a discussion and recommendations for that as well. So that will be coming to you in the future.
All right. Thank you. Thank you very much, sir. Thank you. We're now at the opportunity for the second community matters. I don't think I see anyone else. Any public like to speak? If not, can I get a motion to adjourn, please?
So moved.
All right. All right, brother. Thank you. All right.
Is that the vote?
Oh, all in favor, please say yes.
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 All opposed, please say no.
All in favor, please rise.
Brian, this is.
That's amazing.